Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel, Square Wave 2. You know, just a few years ago, it was still possible to find great examples of vintage electronics, tube-based electronics, at flea markets, swap meets, and even sometimes at garage sales. However, with the advent of eBay, those days are mostly over. No matter what you were looking for, how rare, how old, how obscure, you type its name into the eBay search window, and presto, at least one person will be selling exactly what you are looking for. And very often more than one person will be selling exactly what you are looking for. This takes a lot of the fun out of collecting. There's no more hunting. It's also really hurt antique stores and collectible stores. However, hope springs eternal. I haven't given up completely on the swap meet. And actually just last month, I went to the Pierce College swap meet in Woodland Hills, Southern California. While I was there, I made an amazing find I just have to show you today. There was a gentleman selling some old pieces of test equipment from the 40s and 50s. And right away, I spotted a Heathkit oscilloscope IO12. Now, I know that oscilloscopes are full of tubes, and I thought of purchasing it just for parts. I could use the pots, the knobs, and some of the switches on my own projects. So I asked him what he wanted for the scope, and he said a mere $15. Fantastic. I whipped out the $15, took it home, put it out on the workbench, but I couldn't really examine it until the next day. And after I blew some dust off, I found it was in pristine condition. Absolutely perfect condition. It looked like it was new. Let me get it out here so you can see for yourself. Here it is, folks, the IO12 Heathkit oscilloscope. And it is really in beautiful shape. Not a mark, not a scratch anywhere. Take a look at the front panel. This front panel is unbelievable, absolutely perfect. No dirt, no smudge, no dents, no scratches. All the control lettering is bright and clear. All the knobs are shiny. They're all original. And get this, folks, the original graticule is in place. Usually on scopes this old, the graticule is missing and has been gone for a long time. This is a perfect front panel. Here's a shot of the left side of the case. The gray paint is absolutely perfect. No dings, no dents, no scratches. And here's a shot of the back. Again, absolutely perfect. No dings, no marks, no scratches. And note that even the AC cord is in very good condition. And on the bottom of the unit are 4 original feet. Here's what the right side of the case looks like. Again, absolutely perfect. No dings, no scratches, nothing is bent or dented. Well, there was no way I was going to tear this item down for a few spare parts. I knew what I had to do. I had to restore it electrically. So I took it out of the case. The first thing I did was replace 10 electrolytic capacitors. Then I replaced all the paper capacitors. Very interestingly, I found 2 gigantic paper capacitors rated at 1600 volts in the high voltage power supply. Then I tested all the tubes. 2 of them were bad, the 2 rectifier tubes. I replaced those. I cleaned all the controls and switches very carefully. Then I put it back in the case. I plugged it in, and I was not a bit surprised to find it worked perfectly. It had a bright, clear trace. All the controls did what they should, and all the functions worked properly. This was indeed an amazing find. For anybody who's not familiar with the Heathkit company, they were a company that made electronic kits. They were out of Benton Harbor, Michigan, and they were in business from 1947 until 1992. They made all kinds of electronic kits. They made kits for the radio amateur, all types of test equipment. In fact, their first kit was an oscilloscope. And they even made kits for home entertainment, hi-fi stereo stuff. You didn't need any technical knowledge to build a Heathkit, but you had to be good with hand tools and very good at soldering. Soldering was a very important part of assembling these kits. My hat's off to whoever put this Heathkit together, this IO12. They did a beautiful job. No cold solder joints, no solder joints were missing. And it took some time to assemble this kit because there were close to 400 parts. And the Heath Company advised the builder to inventory all the parts before he started building to make sure nothing was missing. You saved a lot of money by building your own kit over the price of buying the same thing that was factory assembled and factory wired. This Heathkit sold for $79.95, a fraction of what an assembled scope would cost you. Heathkit broke the whole assembly process down into small, discrete, individual steps. And there were a ton of steps. Every time you completed a step in the assembly manual, you would check it off in pencil or pen. And that way, if you came back to the project at a later date, you would know exactly where you left off and where to start. The manual was very complete, very accurate, and really worked. Let me read you a couple of these individual steps from page 21 of the manual. Connect the 4-inch length of hookup wire from lug 4 of terminal strip U, S4, to point PL on the circuit board S1. Now, what does S4 mean? What does S1 mean? S4 means that after you add the lead they talk about in this step, you should have 4 leads there to be soldered. If you find you only have 3, you're only going to be soldering 3, you've made a mistake and you better go back. S1 means there would be 1 there to be soldered. And NS, after an instruction, means don't solder it because it will be soldered later. This was a kind of built-in check system to make sure you didn't make any mistakes. Of course, I realize that these old scopes cannot compare to the scopes of today. For example, this scope only had a bandwidth of 5 megahertz, and today a bandwidth of 100 megahertz would be common. Also, the time base of this unit was not calibrated, so you couldn't measure frequency. And of course, it was only a single trace unit, not a double trace unit. However, it sold for $79.95. It was a great value and perfectly good enough for radio TV servicing and for hobbyists of the day. I'm going to take it up to the house and put it on display in the living room. I don't know what my wife is going to say about that. Anyway, that's all I have for now, folks. Oh, and by the way, this month I'm going back to the Pierce College Swap Meet in Woodland Hills. Wish me luck. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.